Alright, this is the review video for Linear 3 Test 3. Okay, we're going to go through all of the questions and hopefully we can work out any issues that you may have. So the first question it's asking us is to identify the domain and the range. And you've got to remember, domain is always X, range is always Y. So I'm going to label my ordered pairs here so I can figure out what it is. X, Y, X, Y, X, Y, X, and Y. Okay, so now we know that these are dots, right? They are points. Dots means discrete. Okay? If it was a connected, like on a graph, that would be continuous. And because it is discrete in dots, we list these.
1 minute for the button.
Sorry, 1 minute. So we list these as with squiggly brackets. We do not list them as inequalities. This is for continuous graphs, okay? So now I need to figure out domain is my X. So I'm going to list all my X's. 9, 4, 3, and 9. Great. Perfect. My range, hey, I've got 2 all over the place. Perfect. This has your X and your Y's switched, okay? And just as a little side note, when I have the same number multiple times, I don't have to list it 5 times. I don't have to put 4 2's here. You only have to list it once. Okay, now we're looking at here. Now, because this program is not the best, I've made a bigger graph for you right here. It's on the last page of your review. Right after that answer key that got accidentally put in there, it's right after that. Okay, so now it's asking me for the range, and range is always my Y. Okay, now range, remember your robot dealer. I'm going to write that for you. Robot dealer. So range, let me fill in my bubble here. Range is always bottom to top. So we're going to start from the bottom. Here's my first point. What is the Y value of that first point? And it is 0. So my range is going to start out from 0. Now I'm going to go to the top. Here's my last point right here. The Y value of that ordered pair is 450. Now I'm going to look and see, hey, are they filled in? They sure are. There's not a big visible open hole. If there's not a big visible open hole, it's filled in. That means less than or equal to. And because it's range, there goes my inequality. Okay? So my answer has to be right here. It shouldn't have those squiggly brackets. Okay? That's for those. Let me flip the page. Now, the next question, same graph, is asking what about the domain? And we know domain is always X. So now I'm going to look at the same graph. And remember your robot dealer. Robot dealer always tells you robot dealer. Domain is left to right. So I'm going to start at the left. My first point I hit is right here. What is my X value of that ordered pair? And that's 0. I'm going to keep trucking along, and I'm going to find my X value of this ordered pair. And the X value is 7.5. Okay, again, they are both closed in, so I'm going to have that equals to symbol, and it's domain. So it should be A. Pretty easy. You just got to remember your robot dealer. Okay. Number 4, we're looking at the other graph. Now, before, this graph was discrete, right? For number 2 and 3, those were both discrete graphs. I'm sorry. Those were both continuous. Ooh, it's a Friday. I apologize, guys. This one, because it is dots, it is discrete. Okay? Now we're going to look. Again, we're looking for domain. Domain is left to right. Left to right. So we're going to start. What is my first X value? And that's 0. Okay, squiggly bracket. Y'all know I like those squiggly brackets. The next X value is 1. The next one is 2. Keep going. We have 3, 4, and do we have a 5? Yep, we sure do. And that's it. So now I'm going to look at my answer choices. Done. C is my answer. That's it. I just want you to list out, because it's discrete with the dots, you're just going to list them with the squiggly brackets. My next one, what is the range of this function? Okay, well let's look. Range again, robot dealer. Bottom to top, bottom to top. So we're going to start from the bottom, and what is my y value? Okay, same point, but what is the y value? And in this case, it's 50. Then we're going to keep going up, and we hit 70, and then we hit 90, and then we hit 110, and then the last one is 130. So now again, do we go all the way up to 150? I missed a point. Don't do that. Make sure, right? Count your points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 values. This is the correct answer. So the biggest thing you've got to remember is robot dealer for domain and range. And then the other thing you have to remember is if it is dots, it is discrete. If it is connected, it is continuous. Okay? All right, number 6. What is the domain of this function? So again, domain is x. And if you talk about your robot dealer, that is left to right. So we're going to start over here. This is I'm going to scoot that up a little bit. From here, left to right, what is the x value of that point? X value is -3. Going to keep going, keep going. What is my last point here? What is my x value? And that is 5. They're both filled in, so we're going to have the less than or equal to symbols, and domain is always x. So your answer should be C. Okay, let's keep looking up here. Number 7. Same graph. Now we're talking about the y. So this deals with the robot, again, bottom to top. Starting at the bottom, what is the y value of this ordered pair? -70. Keep going up. Now, a lot of you are going to be tempted, and even Miss Kay, when she made her answer choices, did it wrong. Right here, you're going to be tempted to stop, but you don't want to do that, because look at all of these values up top over here that you're missing. So you got to keep going up. So even if it's not a special point, you got to keep going up, and that is my last point. What is the y value of that one? 150. Again, they're both filled in, so less than or equal to, and it is the y. You can see right here, this was supposed to be our answer, except I stopped at that point. I did not go all the way to the top. Okay, so there is not an answer choice. That is your correct answer. All right. Now we're talking about some word problems. Senior Citizens Group is making fruit baskets, and they plan to sell them as a fundraiser. They are selling baskets for $35 each. If they estimate they can sell between 15 and 20, what are the possible amounts of E, the money the senior citizens could earn? Now, we've got to remember that this is discrete. Remember when we drew our notes? If it is discrete, it is things we count, right? Discrete is things we count, and we're counting fruit baskets. Continuous are things we measure. Since we're counting, they're going to be points. All of my domain, or my D, or all of my baskets, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Now, why could I not have 15 and a half? Can I sell half of a fruit basket? No, they wouldn't like that so much. So now what we're going to do is we are going to multiply. Apologize, I had to get a calculator. Miss Kay was not prepared. Okay, now we're going to get a calculator, and we're going to take that 15 and multiply it by 35. It's just straight common sense. 15 times 35. So my first value that they could earn is 525. My next value, 16 times 35. 560. 17 times 35. 595. And I'm going to keep going for all of my values. 630, 665, and 700. So these are all the possible amounts of E. So your correct answer is D. Now we're talking about, are things a function or are they not a function? Okay? Remember, the biggest thing is, for all possible x values, there is only one y. So meaning my x's cannot repeat. Do they repeat? Nope. Yes, it's a function. That's as easy as those questions get. These are probably the easiest questions you can have on the test. Now we're talking about graphs. Remember our vertical line test. If I hold a pen or a finger or a ruler and I swipe the graph, do I ever hit 2 points at one time? And in this instance, I do, right there, right? A whole bunch of places. So is this a function? No, it is not a function. Okay? Flip over. Again, we want to see, do my x repeat? Well, I got a -2, a 0, 2, -6, and 3. Any repeating values? No. So it is a function. Some of y'all are going to be tempted to say, wait a second, my y's repeat. Doesn't matter. I can have multiple y's. I cannot have multiple x's. Looking at my ordered pair here. I'm going to label these x, y, x, y, so I know what numbers to look at. If it helps you, make a table. I got 1, 2, 0, -5, -2, 1, 1, 6, 4, and 3. Do I have repeating x values? And in this situation, there's 1, there's 2. Is it a function? No. Cannot be a function. There is no way I can plug in 1 to an equation and get 2, and then plug that 1 into the same equation and get 6. It's not possible. Looking at my mapping diagram, here we go. Are these functions? So look, well, 3 went to 7 one time. Fantastic. 6 went to 5, but 6 also went to 10. These are my x's. Can 6 go to both numbers? The answer is no. Okay, not a function. Now this one, a good old function notation, right? Wakanda forever. We got to remember that. Wakanda forever. Because that -1 is inside the parentheses, that is my x value. So what is my value when x is -1? So we know -1 goes over here, right? Great. I know there's not little lines drawn, but that's okay. We can use our reasoning and our logic. If it is down here, that has to be a negative number. It is not +1. It's not +3. It's not 0. If it was 0, it would be right there. So the only answer that you could have is -2. Okay, remember, again, let's process this next one. Wakanda forever. That 2 is inside the parentheses. Because it is inside the parentheses, it is my x value. So I'm going to plug in 2 for my x. F of 2 equals 2 times 2 minus 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 8 is -4. There's your answer right here. Okay? Now let's say, Ms. K, I'm not so good at algebra. That's okay. I can take this right here, plug it into my y equals. I'm going to type in 2x minus 8. I'm going to pull up my table, second graph. And I'm going to plug in where x is 2. I'm going to find that where x is 2, my y is -4. Same thing. So you can always use your calculator to check your work. All right, looking at number 16. Remember Wakanda forever. Is that 10 inside or outside? And it is outside, so it is my y value. So I'm going to plug this 10 in for y. 10 equals -x plus 14. I have to subtract that 14 from both sides because I want to get that x by itself. Now, we can't have that negative in front of that x. So I'm going to divide by a -1. So my x is equal to 4. Now, function notation, just to get fancy, always is this. Okay? So if we ask for your answer in function notation, that's it. Multiple choice, it's just 4. Done. Again, we can always use our calculator. Oh, I'm going to quit out of here. Clear out what we have. I'm going to plug in this equation. Negative x plus 14. Pull up my table, second graph, I apologize. Now I'm going to look for where y is 10, right there. What is my x? And x is 4. So always check yourself. Always check yourself. Okay? All right. Now for 17, I did not blow it up. I'm sorry. It's asking us to find the negative 2. Again, that negative 2 is inside the parentheses, so is that my x or my y? It's definitely my x. So I'm going to go where x is negative 2. Find my value right there. Now, again, we don't have exact. It's kind of an estimate, but that's okay. We can use our logic. If it's up here, we're looking for the y value, right? Clearly, my y value is above the line. It is positive, so that means that's gone. It's not 1. We can see the 1 axis. And is it 3 way up here? No. So just by logic, it has to be 0.5. Okay? Don't ever forget that logic or common sense. Definitely help you out. Okay. Now we're talking about this one. Talking about parts of a graph. Y-intercept. Y-intercept always is where does my line cross the y-axis. And this is your y-axis. Crosses right here. That y value is a positive 1. Bam. Remember, y-intercept, y-axis. Ooh, we have the 0. That's our next question. The 0 is asking, what is my x-intercept? Remember, 0 is, that's all it means. So because it's your x-intercept, where does it cross the x-axis? And in this one, it's none, 2, and at negative 3. A lot of you may be tempted to write this one. Remember, it is x comma y. Okay, so we moved to the left 3, and then we didn't move up any. Okay, so my x value should be negative 3. All right, now we're going to talk about rate of change. And what rate of change means is slope. We all know how to do that. Slope from a graph is rise over run. Pick my 2 pretty points. That's your first step. I went up 1, and then I went over 1, 2, and 3. So my slope is 1/3. Remember your slope man or woman or person, whatever floats your boat. That lines that go in this direction are always positive. Okay? Ooh, what is the equation? It's been a minute since we talked about this. Y equals mx plus b. That's your slope-intercept formula. M is always my slope. B is my y-intercept. Okay? So I'm going to find my slope first. And we just talked about slope from a graph is rise over run. So here are my 2 pretty points. I went up 1, and then I went over 1, 2, and 3. So that's my M. M equals 1/3. My B, that y-intercept. Where does this line cross the y-axis? It's right here, and that value is at 1. I'm just going to plug in the B and the M. 1/3 x plus 1. Right there. Okay, now, these last few questions, we've got our graph again. I'm going to kind of overlap that so we can see this graph a little bit better. Pick it up a little. It's asking me, what is the y-intercept? Remember again, y-intercept is where does it cross at the y-axis. This line right here is your y. This line is your x. If you need to write that, go ahead. Okay? Where does it cross? And it hits right here, where it's 20. Now again, a lot of you, so we know B and D are gone. A lot of you are going to be tempted again to pick, you're going to be tempted to pick C, and that's not correct. C would be way over here somewhere. Okay? It is A. It is, your y-intercept is always 0, comma, some value of y. Always. Okay? Your next question, what is the 0? And we just talked about your 0 is your x-intercept. X-intercept. Okay? Where does this line cross the x-axis? We already labeled it. It's going to be right here. Again, cross out those. A lot of you are going to be tempted to pick B. That's not right. Your x-intercept is always some value of x, comma, 0. D. Okay, now it's asking us, what is the rate of change? And we know, again, rate of change just means my slope. And we know our slope from a graph is rise over run. Rise over run. So I'm just going to pick these points right here and right there. They're pretty points. Why not? So I'm going to find out I went up. I went from 0 to 20. So I went up 20. And then I went over to the left 4. Now remember from your slope guy, that's positive, that's negative. Okay? So the line, because it's going this way, is negative. Now I can reduce my 20 divided by 4 gives me a 5. Negative 5 is your slope. Okay? Don't forget about your slope guy. All right, final thing that they're asking me. What is my slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. Okay, now again, we already remember our b was our 20, right? We already talked about that. And did we not just find our m, right? M is negative 5. We'll just fill in the blanks. Negative 5x plus 20. Done. All right. Now we're going to talk about sequences. Okay. We just want to find the common difference. So from here to here, I did minus 3. Here to here, minus 3. Since it's all the same, what is my common difference? That's it. Negative 3. All right. Again, all it's asking me is for the common difference. I don't even have to write an equation. So from 17 to 22, I added 5. From 22 to 27, I added 5. From 27 to 32, I added 5. Again, what is my common difference? Plus 5. Okay. Now it's asking me which sentence best describes the sequence. Well, let's kind of learn a little bit more. We know my T1 is 31. Started with that. Let's find my difference. From 31 to 24, minus 7. 24 to 17, minus 7. 17 to 10, minus 7. My common difference is minus 7. So now let's look at each answer choice. Each term is 7 more. Well, we know that's not the case, right? We went 7 less. Each term is 7 times. Did we multiply? No. Each term is 7 less. Well, that's good. Each term is 7 less than the term before it, starting with 31. Hey, isn't that what we did? Let's make sure D is not correct, right? We don't want one of them things where it's all of the above, or C and D. Each term is 7 times. We didn't multiply, we just subtracted. All right, we're going to do the same thing again. T of 1 is 1.5. Let's find out what my common difference is. Plus 0.4. Plus 0.4. Plus 0.4. So my common difference is plus 0.4. Let's look at all of our answer choices. Each term is 4 more than the term before it, starting with 1.5. Well, that looks really promising, but we got to make sure we read all of our other answer choices to see if something is not better. Okay. B, each term is 0.4 less. Well, did we have a minus or did we add? We added. Each term is 4 more than the term before it, starting with 1.5. That one says it's 4 more. Do we have 4 or 0.4? 0.4. Each term is 4 less than the term before it. Well, we didn't subtract. So, best one was A. All right. Find the 9th term. You can work this 2 ways. I can write a formula if I want, or I can just use my fancy calculator, whichever one you want. But either way, we've got to know 2 things. What my T of 1 is and my difference. My difference from 7 to 13, I added 6. 13 to 19, 19 to 25. So my common difference was plus 6. My T of 1 was 7. Now, I could take my calculator and say, I want 25, 25 plus 6. Okay, so we went from 25 to 31 plus 6 to 37 plus 6 to 43. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. We got the right answer. But what if I was asking you for like the 100th term? That would take us a long time. So we're going to write it with explicit and do a little math. T of n equals T1 plus D times n minus 1. That's my formula. I'm going to plug some stuff in. T of n equals 7 plus 6 times n minus 1. Now I want my n is 9. T of 9 equals 7 plus 6 times 9 minus 1. Now I'm just doing some basic arithmetic. 9 minus 1 is 8. 6 times 8 is 48. And 48 plus 7 is 55. So either way you work it, it doesn't matter. We end up with the same answer. All right, almost done. Again, wants us to find the 7th term. So before I begin, I got to know 2 things. What is my D and what is my T1? So starting from here to here, I subtracted 5. From here to here, I subtracted 5. Again, my common difference is minus 5. My T1, negative 16. Now I could continue the sequence, right? We had negative 31. I could go and use my calculator, subtract 5. Subtract 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'd have my answer. I could also write my formula. My explicit is T of n equals T of 1 plus D times n minus 1. Plugging in my information, my T of 1 is negative 16. Since my D is minus, this becomes a minus 5 times n minus 1. Now my n is my 7. So T of 7 equals negative 16 minus 5 times 7 minus 1. And again, basic arithmetic. 7 minus 1 is 6. Negative 5 times 6 is negative 30. Negative 16 minus 30 gives me a negative 46. Oop, Miss K forgot one. See, this is where you get into the danger zone right here. I counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did not go to my 7th term. This is a good mistake Miss K made. You've got to make sure you get to the 7th term. Okay? All right. Now, it wants us to know, find the first 4 terms of the sequence, given our formula, where A of 1, or T of 1, guys, same thing, equals negative 11. So A of 1 is always my negative 11, right? All right, I'm going to come down here just so I have a little bit more space to work, okay? So we have A of n equals A of n minus 1 plus 3. A of 1 is my beginning, my 11. So that's my first number in my sequence. Fantastic. Now, again, I can recognize my difference is 3. So I can just take my handy calculator and go plus 3. And I get negative 8. Plus 3. And negative 5. Plus 3. I get negative 2. Done. again, I could actually work my formula. But because this is recursive, that's exactly what recursive is doing. Okay? Now, down here, ooh, they gave us an explicit formula now. And they want us to find t of 26. All we're going to do is plug in 26 for n. So I have t of n equals negative 4, parentheses n minus 1, plus 30. Take that 26 and plug it in for n. Negative 4 times 26 minus 1 plus 30. What's 26 minus 1? 25. Negative 4 times 25 gives me a negative 100. Negative 100 plus 30 gives me t of 26 equals negative 70. All you had to do was plug in the information. And that is it. We are done with our review.